Today we're going to have a look at the TISAS 1911. TISAS is a Turkish company, and I'm going to put a link below in the description to the manufacturing plant that produces these. They make firearms for the Turkish military and a lot of clones of other firearms. And it's a video tour that they put out of their own factory, but let's definitely let's have a look at it if that's something that you think you may be interested in. Learn a little bit about the factory and the work that actually goes into these. So I believe that these TISAS 1911s first started coming into the market around 2013, but they that's a slightly different firearm than this one. Those had a black finish, they had a polished barrel, they had hardwood grips, and they weren't as authentic of a reproduction as this one is. This is a very, very good 1911 A1 reproduction, and we're not going to try to in any way take a antique firearm that's over 100 years old and try to modernize it. So I'm not going to go into the details of will this part fit, will that part fit, and whatnot. We're just going to look at this gun as a standalone. I wanted a clone, a copy of a military issue 1911 as was issued from World War II, Korea, Vietnam. Those guns are all the same. We did not make any new 1911s for the military after World War II. So they were only refurbished, and that's how you end up with a mixed match of parts for Korean and Vietnam guns. They simply were taken apart, all the parts were inspected, and they were thrown back together with replacement parts. At any rate, let's start looking at the details of this one. We'll look at what's correct and the one part that's not correct. So to start off, this is the box. Simple cardboard box, nothing special, a little bit of foam inside. This is probably a user manual and a brush and a jag made of plastic. That's it. That's all that comes in the box. Back to the features of the 1911 A1. We can go ahead and look at the markings. This is marked SDS, Knoxville, Tennessee. This is the importer, SDS. Serial number here. On the other side, it is marked Model 1911 A1 U.S. Army and ZIG 1911 TISAS Turkey. This ZIG 1911 marking is a marking that they put on most all of the 1911s that they're making because they all start out as this basic frame. So we'll start with what's wrong. What's wrong is this ejection port. It's a little bit low. It's not terribly low. It's not flared, but it's too low, a little bit too low for a mil-spec 1911 A1. The bottom of this flare should be right at or just below the line where the flats of the receiver stop. And you can see this one drops about 1/4 of an inch from there. But that's the only thing that's actually not correct about it. We've got a Parkerized barrel. We've got straight serrations on the slide. We've got standard military style sights. I believe these are MIM produced. Front sight is a half moon style. No serrations. That's correct for some models of the 1911 A1. Standard checkered Parkerized plunger and barrel collet. We'll come back and look at those a little closer in a minute. Smooth front strap. Back strap is serrated in a Ithaca Colt style, and it's got the curved back strap, which is correct for a 1911 A1. We have our lanyard loop, brown plastic grips. These are probably a newer material than the originals were made of, but they pretty much look the part. Short 1911 A1 trigger. I'm not sure if you can see this, but it is slightly checkered. Very slight across the face. checkered magazine release. Standard safety. It's not too stiff. It was when it was new. But we dry fired it about 250 times, played with the safety a little bit, oiled it, and it's really loosened up. Standard 1911A1 slide release, slide stop. Let's look at the beaver tail, grip safety. That's standard too. Hammer's correct. It's a wide, nice, heavy checkering on that. I hope you guys are seeing what a beautiful Parkerized job this is. It's just a beautiful dark gray. Really couldn't ask for a better finish. We've got our relief cuts and the trigger well assembly. Oh, and let's look at the mag well. It's just very slightly beveled, nothing too aggressive. You can see here it's just enough bevel to round off the edges, not to really hog it out in any kind of tactical kind of way. All right, let's take it apart, and we will look at some of the internals. Okay, so we've got her apart. One thing I did with this is it was slightly oiled when I got it. I re-oiled it because it didn't really appear to be oiled in the right places, but it does come with a little bit of oil on it. Look at the frame first. You notice that the feed ramp of the frame has been polished. Machining in it is very nice, very smooth. There's some oil in here. Much smoother than the military produced wartime 1911s for sure. Frame is a series 1911A1. It predates the Series 70. Series 70 would have a strange barrel collet. We can look at this barrel collet. Just nice dark Parkerized finish. Series 70 would have a 4-prong barrel collet and an accurized barrel. So this is not a Series 70. And it's not a Series 80 because it doesn't have the sort of strange firing pin safety that a Series 80 would have. So it is a true 1911A1, not a 70 or an 80, and that's exactly what we want. So that you guys get a look at some of the internals here. So machining is just perfect inside here. A lot of times some of the wartime production Colts and other ones are kind of rough on the inside, but this is nice and smooth. Parkerized and finish is perfect. We've got our slide stop, mainspring and guide rod. It's got the short little mil-spec guide rod. Does not have a dimpled guide rod housing. And look at the barrel. This has been dry fired about 250 times racked, and the Parkerization's not really showing anywhere. We look at the feed lip. That is not polished. You can see that that's Parkerized. We're going to take this out to the range and see how well it feeds. We're going to be shooting some 230 grain Winchester military ball ammo, just like a military grade 1911 would have. This is what they call their service grade full metal jacket. I'm going to put this together and we're going to look at the magazines. Okay, so let's look at these magazines real quick. This is the magazine that came with the TISAS 1911A1. You can see this is a Metgar magazine. I love Metgar magazines because I love Italian firearms, and Metgar is an Italian company that makes magazines for a multitude of firearm manufacturers. It says right here, made in Italy. Look at the markings on that. There we go. Smooth, flat base plate. We've got a polished, probably stainless follower. Very smooth. Now, I believe that these magazines are purchased from Metgar, and either Metgar Parkerizes them or TISAS Parkerizes them in-house. But either way, they're getting Parkerized because if you look at this magazine, this is going to be a factory Metgar magazine. Let's look at the part number on this. It's going to be MGC G4507B. If you're looking for replacement magazines, these are a deep blue finish, like what we're really accustomed to with Metgar magazines. It's deep, high polished blue. If you'll compare the two, they are the exact same magazine. The markings are the exact same. The font is the exact same. They are the same magazine. So I purchased a couple extras of these. But at any rate, we're going to load these up. We're going to head out to the range. We're going to see how well this thing even runs. Check the accuracy, reliability, and let you guys see us at the range putting some rounds through this thing. So come with us. Recording. Okay guys, we got the TISAS 1911. We're going to put some rounds through it. We've already got about 200 rounds through this gun. It's running really well. I bought a couple of extra Metgar magazines, and I have an issue with one of them. One of them is causing the very last round to pop up out of the magazine, which causes the slide to lock back, and that last round is just sitting in the chamber. It doesn't ever fire. So it's not a problem with the firearm, it's a problem with the magazine. We're going to find out what magazine it is. So and at that point we'll quarantine it out of the group. Let's put the first few rounds through it. Those ran fine. We'll keep running them until we have a problem with one of the magazines. Okay, so we fired the first 21 rounds through the 1911. We're going to put another 21 through it. We're going to go to about 50 or so, just to show you guys a little bit of action of this thing running, but we're not going to shoot it all day long because it'll just run and run and run. That's a slide lock back on that round. That may be my thumb. Okay, good run. Looks like a double feed. Okay. I have a tendency to run my thumbs high like this. On this 1911, I'm constantly bumping the slide lock and locking it back. I got to be careful about that. Let's reload and run a few more through it. Okay, we've loaded up another 3 magazines, 21 rounds. We'll try to keep my thumb off that slide lock. I have to keep telling myself that. Bumped the slide lock. Okay, that's another 21 rounds. She's running really good as long as I do my part, keep my big thumbs off that slide lock. There is a little bit of hammer bite associated with this 1911A1. You get that with a lot of the GI spec guns that are out there. This has got a really wide, long hammer. So I'm wearing my gloves, that fixes the problem. Okay guys, so one thing that I found is that this 1911 with these really small sights is surprisingly accurate. So we set up our steel target at 50 yards, and we're gonna see if we can hit at that distance. I've only got 2 rounds, and I know if I do my job, I'll get hit, so let's see. Yeah, baby, that's a hit. The old TISAS would certainly do its job if you can do yours. Plenty accurate 445 ACP.
Thanks for watching this video review of the TISAS 1911A1. I think for the price range that it comes in, being around $330, it's very hard to beat for a decent copy of a military issue 1911A1. If you like what you're seeing here, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned. If you've got any questions, absolutely post those below. I'll be sure to answer them. And stay tuned for more videos, more reviews that are coming up very soon.